So the first question that I have is what what job do you do specifically?
Well, the job I do and the job we're recruiting for are not the same thing, but
Oh, true.
before I got into my position as apprentice coordinator, the job I did previous to this position is I was a construction electrician.
Mm, okay. And what was the work-life experience for that job? Like what did you do on a typical day?
It's varied, but construction meaning that generally meaning that it's either industrial or commercial. So what I did had very little to do with residential. We would not go to someone's house and troubleshoot a wiring problem or install a circuit for a dishwasher, things like that.
Mm,
What we did is, what we do is we man up commercial and industrial, usually large scale projects. So it will be one of these things where you might be driving down the street and you see a building being built. And those are the sort of jobs that we man.
okay, I see. So there are different categories that people in this kind of line of work can work in?
There are, yeah.
Mm,
Our training center has two specific classifications. One, which I just described to you, the
mm,
commercial, and we do also have a residential division.
mm.
However, as a unionized entity, we are concerned with large scale projects. That's what we do. So whether you're in the commercial classification or the residential classification, it's always going to be a large project with dozens, if not hundreds, of workers from different trades all working on the same project at once.
I see. So can you give sorry, can you give an example of a large scale project?
Well, we're very, very fortunate to be in the Silicon Valley. So
Mm,
many of our customers are high tech. So we're
I
doing
see.
enormous amounts of work at Google right now. Google is building two new headquarter buildings in Mountain View. One they call the Bayview Project, and another one is Charleston East. And those are all our electricians on those projects. They are multi-million dollar projects, sometimes over $1 billion projects.
Wow.
We recently helped build Apple's new Apple Park campus in Cupertino, the so-called spaceship, that building that's larger than the Pentagon. We recently finished constructing that. So a lot of our customers are high tech. We do work for Amazon, for Google, for LinkedIn, Facebook, you
Hmm.
name it, and we do it.
I see. That's good to know. So how many hours a week do people in this career generally work? Like, does it vary a lot? Is there overtime? Like, how does that work?
It does vary.
Mm,
Typically, it's 40 hours. However,
mm,
all of these projects have deadlines, and it's not uncommon for um, the construction project, all the trades,
mm.
to be behind schedule from time to time. And in cases like that, it's not uncommon for the general contractor, which is running all the job and directing all the different trades, to ask us to work overtime. So it's very
Mm.
common for overtime to be available. The other thing, though, is that construction is seasonal and it's up and down.
Ah, true.
And so it fluctuates also with the economy. And when things are
Mm.
really bad, we might not have work for all of our members. So there can be times when you're collecting unemployment. But in this particular market, we've been very fortunate because it's a very, very strong market.
I see. So if someone were interested in going into this line of work, then this would be a good location to go into
This is
that.
actually the best market in the
Mm.
United States for commercial construction.
Yeah, that makes sense.
High tech and the Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies, and these venture capital companies and the biotech in South San
Mm.
Francisco and that area. There's enormous amount of growth and work in this market.
Okay. And are there internships or apprenticeships that are usually offered for these types of jobs?
So that is what I do. I am the apprentice coordinator at
Ah,
the training center. We have over 600 apprentices. And yes, yeah, to work in the skilled trades, um, it's normal that you would be in an apprenticeship program.
mm, that makes sense. Okay. So that means that like on the job does that mean on the job training is commonly offered for this sort of line of work?
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
In our residential apprenticeship, that's a 3-year program.
Mm,
It includes 400 to complete the 3-year program. You have to have 4,800 hours of on-the-job training
mm,
and 480 hours of classroom training.
I see. Okay.
For the commercial, which I was, commercial classification, that's a 5-year program.
Mm,
That requires 8,000 hours of on-the-job training and 930 hours of classroom training to complete that apprenticeship.
I see. Okay. And what educational background is necessary for this type of careers? Like, do you have to go to college and get a degree, or like, do they have to get a high school diploma or GED, or like, what's the minimum requirement?
So the minimum requirements are that you're 18 years of age
Mm,
and that you have a high school diploma or a GED or an equivalency.
okay, so you don't have to go to college for this.
You do not have to go to college. No.
I see.
Interestingly, the average age of the first-year apprentices in the commercial program is 26 years old. So
Mm,
the apprentices tend to be older, but we do have people who came to us straight from high school.
okay, that's good to know. Because the high school that I go to is actually there's a massive emphasis on college, and I think like a lot of like there a lot of people face a lot of pressure to go to college even if they actually don't really know what they want to do. So that's good to know. Maybe knowing this can kind of broaden their horizons and they don't have to feel like they have to go into debt for nothing.
Yeah, there's actually some, I don't know if I can share it with you or if you want to do any screen share, but there's some interesting numbers, financial numbers surrounding the cost of college and the cost
Yeah,
in
there are.
comparison to our apprenticeship. Usually if you go to a UC school for 4 years,
Mm.
total cost of tuition fees, books, supplies, health insurance, room and board, and transportation is about $130,000
For
for
4 years?
years. But most people who attend a 4-year school do not complete their program in 4 years. Most of them take another
Mm.
semester or two. And so it's very, very expensive getting a 4-year education, as you know.
Yeah. Like, of course, that doesn't mean college is all bad, but like, if you don't know what you're doing, then it could be a huge waste of money.
Yeah. If you don't have a clear vision, or if you're in a financial situation where um, every dollar is important, then you probably shouldn't be um, attending college until you have a clearer idea in your head of what you want to do. And I'm
Yeah.
speaking from firsthand experience at that point.
I see. So, uh, what are some of the like specific jobs that your union covers? Like, yeah.
Yeah, so we have a very broad scope of work. I'm currently producing a video that would address all the different types of jobs that you might do if you went through our apprenticeship. But I would say 3/4 of our workers are conventional construction electricians. So they bend pipe and they install pipe and they
Mm.
pull wire through the pipe. They place equipment and devices and install them within the building and basically install the electrical infrastructure of the building. That's about 75% of our membership. The other 25% of our membership, I would say, do very, very specialized type things. Like there might be
Mm.
uh, heating and ventilation, air conditioning controls, or there might be fire alarm work. These
I
are
see.
all electrical circuits, but they're more specialized. Also, lighting controls is a very, very big area. You know, the state and the world as a whole is trying to achieve efficiencies with the way they use power. And so lighting controls is very big because lighting controls is one of the main ways in which energy costs can be lowered. And so those are some of the other more specialized areas.
I see. Okay, and there was something else I was wondering, which is like, what are some lesser known jobs to the general public that are kind of in need of like being filled?
Um, well, as far as I can only really speak to our industry,
Mm,
but one of the things that is really, really increasing is the use of software tools in the construction business. It used to be that everything was on blueprints,
yeah.
and the design and the modeling of construction projects is increasingly taking place in software-based apps. So there are
Mm,
like Trimble and Bluebeam and PlanGrid. These are very powerful design and project management tools that are being used. So people who initially come into our apprenticeship and are prepared to be construction workers, they might find that their bodies are not going to withstand 20 or 25 or 30 years of physical labor.
mm,
And so those people, if they have an aptitude for working on a computer workstation,
mm.
can transition into an office job where they are working at a computer workstation and doing design and project management.
Okay, that's good to know. Because I feel like there are actually a lot of, I think, software, like upcoming software engineers or computer scientists or whatever in this area. But I think a lot of people, when they think of going into a line of career in that, like in computer software engineering, they think of working for major companies and stuff like that, but they don't think for working for organizations like yours. So would this require a college degree of any sort to work in this position?
No, you know, our apprenticeship does not have any requirements for that, and nor do the contractors. It's really based on what you know. It's not
Mm,
much qualification based as it is. Well, it's not a paper qualification. You know, um, one of the interesting things about our apprenticeship, I should mention, as we're talking about college in general, is
mm,
you don't have to have college to get into the
mm.
apprenticeship. But once you're accepted into our apprenticeship and many of the other apprenticeships, we have what they call a local educational agency. Our apprenticeship is affiliated with Foothill College in
Mm.
Los Altos. And I told you that there's 930 hours of classroom training required to complete our program.
Mm.
You receive college credit for going through our apprenticeship. And in fact,
Oh,
it'll soon be the case that when you complete our 5-year apprenticeship, you will also receive an associate's degree in applied science from Foothill College.
oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that might be useful to know for some people.
yeah. It's
Mm.
very useful to many people to not have to take out student loans and not have to go into debt.
Yeah.
Instead, just be trained, go to school for free and have tools paid for, books paid for, and
Mm.
on-the-job training provided for you. Um,
Mm.
during our apprenticeship program, most of our apprentices are going to make, over the 5 years, they're going to make about $500,000
Mm.
just
That's quite a lot.
just in wages, and
Yeah.
about $800,000 in wages and benefits. So that's about $160,000 a year in wages and benefits while
Yeah.
while they are training.
That's really good.
Really, really good. The wage and benefit sheets. Well, the first year apprentices start at about $33 an hour, which is
Mm.
66, almost $70,000 a year
Mm.
as a first year apprentice who doesn't
Mm.
know anything.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good entry level job.
Yeah, I agree. That's good to know.
So we're
Would you
trying to
say,
get more women into the trades.
hmm,
So,
all right, my next question is, would you say that this job is risky, or like a lot of these specific jobs are risky? And is there like a hazard pay?
so two more really good questions. Um, Construction is still considered one of the most dangerous industries, and that's based
Mm,
on the fact that it's very physical.
yeah.
That said, in California, not only do we have to comply with OSHA
Mm,
on the federal level,
mm,
Occupational Safety and Hazard Administration, but we have Cal OSHA. So there's
mm.
two levels of government that oversee the safety on job sites like ours.
Yeah, makes sense.
Many of the statistics for accidents on job sites happen in the non-union or residential field where there is not safety oversight. But where we work, I talked about we man these large jobs, large companies, huge budgets. The companies that we work for, they have full-time safety departments, full-time safety officers. There's a lot of
Mm,
oversight. And in fact, many of the contractors, if they have a bad safety record, they are not allowed to bid on jobs. So
mm,
safety is huge. I mean, when we go to a job site, the contractor says, here is your hard hat, here is your safety vest, here are your work gloves,
mm,
here are your safety glasses, and
mm,
you're required to wear safety boots,
mm.
construction boots. So safety is a huge deal in the unionized construction workplace, which we are. That said, there is still some hazard, but
Yeah.
um, you know, you can go months without seeing an injury on a job site, and then maybe someone, trips and falls on something that was on the ground, or they cut themselves with a knife or something. That certainly happens, but
Mm.
um, I consider it to be a pretty safe workplace.
That's good to know. Yeah, so I presume in the benefits, do they cover injuries or anything like that of some sort? Or like
Any
medical?
workplace injury would typically be covered under workers' comp. You know,
Ah,
and,
okay.
and so, being legitimate, there's all of these contractors that we work for are large companies, they're corporations typically. Some of them are family owned, but they're not fly by night companies, so they all have insurance. In fact, to bid on these jobs, they have to show their certificate of insurance. They have to prove that they're paying workers' comp and paying into disability and these things. So anything that happens in the workplace, you're covered by workers' comp. But wages and benefits wise, um, we have incredible health insurance coverage. Our health insurance is in the industry what they call a Cadillac plan, meaning that it's a very, very high-end plan with very few co-pays and
Mm,
very high level of benefits. As a union electrician, you will have your dental paid for, you will have your vision paid for, you'll have um, your overall health of you and any dependents you have, your husband or wife, your children
mm.
are all covered. So we have very excellent health coverage.
Yeah, that's good to know. Uh, okay, so how do promotions generally work for this career?
So we are working as a unionized workplace. We work under a contract, typically known as a collective bargaining agreement,
Mm,
contract between the workers and the contractors. And the
mm,
contract is negotiated. So pay and pay raises are strictly spelled out.
mm.
Um, Basically, when you're an apprentice, you get a pay raise every 6 months. It's
Oh,
based on
that's cool.
achieving a certain number of on-the-job training hours and finishing semesters of school. And
Yeah.
for each one of these milestones, you automatically get a raise. When you
Mm,
complete the apprenticeship, you turn out, you become a journeyman. And journeyman, once again, through that same contract,
mm,
journeyman gets a certain amount per hour. We are hourly workers.
that makes sense. Okay. Uh, my next question is how long do people usually stay in this line of work? Like once they join?
I don't have any numbers or statistics for you, so anything that I can tell you is just anecdotal.
Mm.
The main thing that makes people drop out of the industry is that it is physical labor.
Ah, that's
And
true.
some people, and it's really, what I found more than anything else, it's genetic.
Mm.
Some people, their bodies are just not built to stand up to the rigors of construction work. It can
Yeah, I
be
see.
hard physical labor, but it's not necessarily a big, strong person succeeds because a lot of big guys or big people,
Mm.
their bodies just break down. For instance, there's people who have knee replacement surgery by the time they're 40.
Oh,
And then there's people who work till they're 65 years old and have no medical problems at all. So the
wow.
thing that makes people drop out more than anything is their bodies can't stand up to it. But the wages and benefits, Catherine, are so good that once people get in, they
Mm.
very rarely leave unless they're forced to leave.
Yeah, so like if you don't get injured, then you just decide to stay.
Yeah, you become vested in the retirement, and the retirement is just excellent. You have we have 3 different retirement funds,
Mm.
and if you work for 20 some odd years, you will retire very comfortably.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so people don't want to walk away from that.
Yeah, so you mentioned the whole like partnership with Foothill College and how you get like an associate's degree after you complete the program. So
That has
say
not
it's,
been completed yet. You
oh,
you will get college credit.
oh,
We're moving towards getting an associate's degree in applied science, but we haven't quite achieved that yet.
ah,
Improve certain parts of our curriculum before we finally get to that point. But the students will receive a certificate of completion and they will receive
mm,
college credit. I think right now they receive about 50 CEUs when
mm,
we complete our apprenticeship.
I see. Yeah, so I'm bringing it up because say someone were to join this or like this union and do some physical labor and they are forced to drop out, they still do get some help towards some sort of alternate plan, right? Like,
They'll receive some college credit.
yeah, they'll have, yeah,
And
okay.
as students at Foothill College, they'll get a college ID, which you know, there's when you have a college ID, it's a wonderful thing because you get so many discounts on so many.
That's true.
So I mean, our apprentices get the same benefits as any college students.
Mm, okay. And I presume the work experience will look good to employers?
I think so. You know,
Mm,
it's a skilled trade. So
yeah.
one of the getting back to the minimum requirement, there's 2 programs. The residential program has a slightly lower level of minimum requirement. To get into the commercial program, the 5-year program, the one that pays more,
Mm,
I mean, you do have to have 2 semesters of algebra in high school.
okay.
And it's fairly math intensive. We teach AC theory. And so,
Mm,
that is difficult for some students. The math in our program is difficult for some students.
mm, okay. So if someone is interested, like they're right out of high school now, they have all the credits, how would they get started? Like who would they have to contact and stuff to join?
Well, I will send you our website, but the application process is online and
Ah, yeah, okay.
applications online for the first 7 days of each month. Uh,
Mm,
if they were to just Google electrical JATC 332,
mm.
that would bring the search results would bring them to our website, and they can apply there for 7 days of each month. And I'll forward that information to you.
Oh, that's good to know. I don't worry about that though, because I actually found you via the website. So yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, so when we post the videos,
And it's free to apply, and you just upload certain documentation, and then
ah, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, because when we post the videos on our like career fair website, we will put the websites of those organizations underneath them. So that's good to know.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Last question is there anything else you think is important for someone to know who's interested in pursuing this career that like hasn't already been covered?
I think there's a tendency, and you actually touched on it, the expectations of parents and family about what
Oh,
to go into and everything.
true.
And there's a stigma, I think, still to this day attached to construction work.
Mm,
For our field, we are skilled tradesmen, and it's wonderful because if you're really a brainiac, nerdy type, you can
mm,
do very well in this industry. Or if you played sports and you're really strong and you love interacting with your world physically, it's a great career for those people too. Um, the thing they say about electricians is great electricians are from the neck up, meaning that you still, it's construction, but you have to be smart and you have to be organized and you have to have hard skills and soft skills. And if a person is a well-rounded individual, they like to be outside, it's a great career. And it's really, to go to college and come out of there with $100,000 in student loan debt and have that hanging over your head for the next 20 years of your life, trying to pay that off.
mm,
Um, it only makes sense increasingly as time goes by. The value of college has eroded a little bit. And I think
mm.
some of the other alternatives to college, like our alternative, are a much better pathway for many people.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, that's also good to know because I once again I could possibly be generalizing, but just from what I've seen from like my school, there's this it's one of those like nerdy schools where people, yeah, a lot of people are very academically driven, and there are quite a few sporty people as well, but I feel like a lot of people, another reason why they're kind of afraid of going into a skilled trade is because they think they won't do well there, right? Like they think it's all manual labor work and stuff like that, and they won't be good at it. But yeah, if
Yeah, the
there's,
electrical workers is really wonderful because it can accommodate all types.
mm, so you can actually, yeah, do like what, develop computer software and stuff
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, we have members in our group that are developing software actually, and just really becoming extremely proficient in some of the software tools that I mentioned before. I mean, some people will use, for instance, just the analogy would be like, I use Excel, right? Well, to what degree do you use Excel? How much do
Mm,
you really understand the capabilities of Excel? To
mm,
what degree are you using the fullest powers of Excel? And so we have some very, very highly expert IT people
yeah.
working with us and for us. And
So
those people are highly valued in our industry.
that's good to know. So would you say that, like, would you be able to list any like other quote unquote brainiac sort of jobs in this union?
There's computer aided design, right?
Mm,
There's a CAD or AutoCAD, and then there's a lot of very, very similar um, types of software tools. I had mentioned them, Bluebeam and Trimble is another.
mm,
PlanGrid is another one. Navisworks is another one. And so there's all these different tools now that are being used for management and
mm,
design. But even if you're a field worker, there's still stuff that's very, very brain oriented. We have instrumentation electricians, and
mm,
we work on anything that has to do with the control of different processes, like monitoring and controlling heat and flow and pressure, pH, acidity, viscosity. Like if you,
mm,
for instance, go to a manufacturing lab or a chip making lab or a food processing lab, there's all these processes that have to be controlled in the industry. And electricians do all that stuff too. And it's not physical heavy duty work. It's very, very precise, um, brain work.
mm. That's good to know. Okay, I think those are all the questions I have for you. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to answer some questions. I learned a lot.
Okay, you're
Cool
welcome.
stuff.
Yeah, as we said before, let me know if I can help out in the future. I'd be happy to.
Mm, all right, well, have a good day. Bye.
Okay, bye. Take care.
Yeah. Yeah.